Standing committee to order. Roll call, please. We got Miranda.
Harrow.
Here.
Renish.
Yep.
Oh, there you go, sorry. Manning.
Here.
Gill.
Here.
Glassbrenner. Here. Turk.
Here.
Frank.
Here.
Williamson.
Here.
Louis.
Here.
We have, everybody here, sir.
100% attendance. Thank you, everyone. Verification of the open meeting law compliance. Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Agenda approval, item number 4, 21 point is what I have. Mr. Manning, Supervisor Manning, Supervisor Renish, any discussion on the agenda? Anything that needs to be moved or replaced? If not, all those in favor of approving the agenda as presented, signify by saying aye.
Wow, hold on, question.
Yeah, oh, Mr. Wingo.
Did we?
Sure. We can move 16 up to, want to do public comment and then let him go before reports?
I defer to you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to point out that we have him on the line.
Comments from our group go with public comment, so if somebody wants to have a comment, then they can leave before we go to the closed session, because they're gonna have to move anyway.
I would say yes.
All right, Mr. Frank, so we will move item number 16 up to after item number 6, public comment. All those in favor of the changes that presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, approve the agenda as is. Minutes from 2011. If there are no corrections from anybody, I will stand them as presented and approved by myself. Public comment, we are up to item number 6, public comment. Nothing, all right. We will go to item number 16, closed session. The chair may entertain a motion to enter closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute, section 19.851F. Considering financial, medical, social, or personal histories or disciplinary data or specific persons, preliminary consideration specific personnel problems, or the investigation of charges against specific persons, except where paragraph B applies, which, if discussed in public, would be likely to have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred to in such histories or data, or involved in such problems or investigation. Consideration of public officials. Mr. Manning makes the motion. A second by Ingrid Glasscliff. I know as of last night, I don't know if we've done that, but on Southwest Tech Board, when we go into closed session, we do roll call. I will call for a roll call vote. Miranda, please.
Harrow.
Aye.
Renish.
Aye.
Manning.
Yeah.
Gill.
Here.
Glassbrenner. Aye. Turk.
Aye.
Frank.
Aye.
Williamson.
Aye.
Cooey.
Aye.
All right, we are now in closed session, and who are we gonna allow to stay? Administrator Window, Miranda would like to be excused.
He has to, he's here presenting.
Yep, so you should stay.
Oh.
Mr. Chair, may I stay as a county board member? Very close to it.
No, not unless you're county board member.
I am a county board member.
Are we, but are we gonna allow non-executive?
Oh, non-committee.
I stayed before. Okay, whatever you guys. Okay, because I see.
And do we have other county board members?
All right. Item number 7, A, letter A, Veteran Service Officer Quarterly Report.
Good evening. So in the packet is the reports that I make quarterly. They're 2 Excel spreadsheets. And they just discuss how many visitors we've had versus how many forms we completed so far this year. If you guys had time to review those, any questions you have, I'll be happy to answer them. A lot of you guys have seen them from previous committees that we've been on. It's pretty standard.
Anybody with questions on the Veterans Quarterly Report?
And I also wanted to report that we did receive our annual grant for $11,688. That's for 2024. That's all I have. If anyone else has any questions.
Good, all good? Thank you, dear. Moving on to 7B. That you, Administrator Report. Budget overview and campus updates, 7B.
Okay, so, I sent out an email late today, so I'm sure many of you have seen that. With a lot of updates that came out late today, Senator Ballweg and Representative Kurtz both have called me in the last 24 hours to verify that in fact our funds were released today for the $2 million grant, which is very, very exciting. So WEDC will be voting on the final version of the application, and that will be happening on the 23rd. We do not know what that application is going to look like or will look like. I'm going to be making some calls, seeing what I can find out as far as if they're going to be adding any additional stipulations or what that process is going to be, so that we can be prepared, so that when and if it opens up and it's posted, we're ready to go, so that we can get our application in and start moving on those dollars. Venture Architects was here 2 weeks ago again, reviewing some of the space within the courthouse, wanting to kind of walk through and visualize some of the discussions that have been had with some of the departments here in the courthouse on needs, space reconfiguration, what works in the spaces that are here now, what doesn't work, kind of just talk through if we were to have to remain in the space here and to remodel, what would that need be, things like that. So that worked out really, really well. We kicked off our 2025 budget calendar. We had department head meeting on Monday, walked through it with everyone. Actually, some departments already have their budgets into us, which is wonderful. So we're really doing a great job on track with that. Larry and I will be meeting then individually, as we did last year, with each department, going line by line through all of those expenditures, all of those revenues. For that initial meeting, we'll put together that preliminary budget, we'll see where our numbers come in, and then any areas of concern, we'll meet again, go through, identify areas where we think we need to take a hard look, maybe walk some numbers back, make some adjustments, things like that. I did also share a document today that was the 2023 memo that was released on shared revenue, and what their plan was for 2024 and 2025, which is a 2.3% increase for 2025. It's not significant. We haven't seen anything else that would indicate that it will be much more. Considering the significant increase we got last year, I'm not complaining in any way, shape, or form, but we haven't had any indicators that it will deviate from that at all. So we're planning for that amount this year right now. And so we'll go from there. As far as the wage study goes, right now we're holding on wages. We're not anticipating any wage increases in the budget because we're waiting to see how we come in and how we're going to plan for that implementation there. Campus update. So we officially have taken over the campus, as you all know. They shuttered the doors and they painted over the sign. I have a giant picture of keys sitting in my office that, yeah, it's quite interesting for sure. But I'm getting several emails, phone calls, things from interested parties in the community, schools, different things like that. And I am responding to each and every one of them, pretty much giving them the same response of, we're awaiting the results of our feasibility study. After that, the reconfiguration committee and the county board will be tasked with making decisions on how we move forward and what that process looks like. As soon as we have identified that process, we will reach out to everyone and let them know what that will be. So I have compiled a list of interested parties. I have all that information so that I can make sure that we do that. A lot of people wanting to go in and just kind of take things. And so I have ideas. I've spoken with some of you on, I think we're going to have to just ensure equal opportunity for all to have access to the items inside that, we decide as a board, what we can't use or don't want to retain. With that is everything that I'm thinking of right now, unless you all have any questions for me.
Mr. Gill.
When do we anticipate getting the results of the feasibility study?
In the next week and a half to 2 weeks, and they said they're on track to provide that in a lot of time.
The original estimate was 5/15. Just throwing a date out there. Any other questions on the administrator's report? If not, let's move on to number 8. Resolution approving purchase of 15 desktop computers. Who's handling that one?
I am.
Okay.
So annually, our budgets for desktop computers, she put out 4 quotes, and this is the lowest quote. So she's asking for approval with the 2024 CIP dollars that she had, purchase these 15 desktops from JComp Technologies in the amount of $14,385.
So do we have 15 that went bad, or is it just?
We have them on an annual replacement schedule.
6 years, guys, I think.
Yeah.
No,
Every 6 years or hang on.
That's
long.
Long.
Yes.
Okay, they're on 6 years schedule.
Yep, they're on a rotation.
And there's both, if you didn't vote, both quotes
All
are in,
quotes are in. Yep.
in your file. Mr. Carroll.
Replaced computers, is there a cascading what gets the old ones, or do they literally get out the door?
That I don't know. I think they kind of keep some for backup, don't they?
Yeah, depending on the age. We keep some, and sometimes the oldest one doesn't necessarily get replaced with the new one, because sometimes the old one may be. So, one of them there, and cascaded down.
That's what I was getting at.
Okay.
Bill. Good question.
So,
Any further questions, Mr. Coey?
Get 15 computers every year. What do we do with the other 15 that we got rid of? They go back,
They get recycled.
they get recycled, but do you wipe them and sell them, or is that what you do?
We wipe the hard drives, they just get recycled. They're really not worth anything.
They're not worth, because I was just curious, because we do the same thing, so sometimes they sell them back for pennies on the dollar. But
Any further questions on the computer replacement? Not, I entertain a motion to move this resolution on. Mr. Greenwich makes the motion, seconded by Mr. Frank. I think we've had enough discussion on it. All those in favor of moving on the resolution to purchase 15 desktop computers for $14,385, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. All right. 4 computers. 9, air conditioner for the server room.
So this was an emergency purchase, because the air conditioner went out in the server room. So they had a window unit going, and they had a stand-up AC unit going just to try to keep it cool enough in there. That obviously is not a long-term solution. So we had to order an AC unit in the amount of $10,299. So obviously it wasn't one that I could just approve. So here we are asking for approval for the replacement of that unit for the server room.
Which server room is this?
Across at MIS, the main server room, the big one. Yeah, not a good deal.
Carol, and who seconded it? Cooey, Carol and Cooey on that one. Any other further discussion? Otherwise, we're approving the purchase of a $10,299 air conditioner for the server room. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, nay. All right. Yeah, number 10, supporting resolution supporting calling for state investment in mental health funding.
All right, this just came out yesterday. That's why it is on this agenda. It didn't come out in time to make it onto the Health and Human Services agenda. And I spoke with Trish and we wanted to make sure that we got it on the county board agenda for this month. As we all know, mental health funding is sorely lacking in the state. And so this is an initiative to increase mental health funding. And so I put the white paper in your packet. You can read more in depth on what the funding is for. But this is the resolution that WCA provided and asked that we support. So asking for approval to support increased state funding for mental health.
Motion by Glassbrenner, seconded by Manning. Any further discussion?
Yeah, so is this Wisconsin counties, language that they're asking to go out to all the counties to use?
Yes. It is.
Any other questions? Not all those in favor of moving this on to the full county board, supporting mental health funding, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Okay. 11, discussion and possible action repairs to the West Bridge on the UW campus. Mr. Elder.
So with everything that's happening at the campus in question, the bridges have been a talking point for many years. The bridges themselves are not available for any kind of a state or federal funding because they sit on a private drive within the city of Richland Center, even though they are owned by the county. So they do not get any type of funding assistance. So in order to proceed forward with any type of anything with the campus, you need access in there for trucks and the bridges need to be replaced. So I approached the reconfiguration committee with the thought process of starting with hydraulic analysis to see what the viability would be to replace them with maybe culverts. And that would all be in-house dollars because there is not going to be any assistance with this. The hydraulic analysis was done. They came forward with doing bridges, and that was also confirmed with the DNR through their recommendations. So we contracted with MSA to do the hydraulic analysis, and then as we proceeded forward and decided to do the bridge, we had them tighten down their estimates, come forward with full numbers for replacement of at least one bridge for next year to get the ball rolling on it. So everything that's in your packets will be the hydraulic analysis and the cost estimates for replacing the one bridge, which would be the West Bridge, which gives you the best access in there, easy to identify. Mr. Chair.
Did you talk to them about raising it to foot?
Yep, that recommendation has been passed over.
So the hydraulics said you couldn't put a culvert in?
You could, but it's just not, the DNR have major concerns as they want to address that with trout population in the area. And then obviously with the culvert, it may restrict it enough that it's not going to handle a 100-year flood. So they recommend doing basically a cookie cutter bridge design.
Thank you.
And what Mr. Rennish is referring to, those of us that are on, what is that committee? Public Works. During the flooding event, whatever day that was, it was actually, the bridge didn't handle all the water coming. So the suggestion was made to, hey, what about raising it? But then
There was a hydraulic study done years ago when that bridge was installed, so.
But any questions for Josh on that? It's the first step in getting forward with everything out there. Mr. Carroll.
So what are we forward? Just
The actual replacement of West Bridge at the purchase price, I think it's just over $600-some-thousand.
I guess my concern was, this is the engineer's estimate. We're gonna have to pay for that. And I'm just wondering how accurate that is.
That is within, they have a 3% contingency built on, and that is 100% as accurate as they can possibly make it. Remember, the first estimates were a little low. I felt they were low. I approached MSA again, tighten down your numbers. I want extremely accurate numbers, and they did so. I don't think we're gonna get any more accurate numbers than this until construction is completed and the final costs are in.
And in my opinion, that hopefully the money we receive, some of it could be used for this. We can't do anything out there unless we can get into it trucks.
That's why we can't.
Yeah. Any other questions for Mr. Elder? Otherwise, the resolution would be to move this on to full county board to move forward with replacing the West Bridge in the general area of 466,000 to 490,000.
Are we identifying where this funding is coming from? Haven't got the.
What's that, Bob?
Are we identifying where that funding is coming from?
Comes out of Josh's budget.
What's that?
On our initial discussions, we talked about, we still have a chunk of funding left for ARPA, but with the release of the 2 million, we would have option of where to
Right,
go.
but we're not gonna have that by the time some of this might get started. I mean, is it gonna be is it all gonna happen right at the right time for approving this? Does that money come in?
My understanding was that construction would not be able to start until
2025.
Oh, okay.
2025.
All right, I was
I
thinking.
believe we will have those dollars in place by then.
Okay,
The highway department is paying for all the engineering and hydraulic analysis as it continues on. We're doing that out of our normal budget, but then when it comes to the actual construction, that's where the money would have to be spoken for.
Ingrid.
I make the motion.
Okay, seconded by Mr. Frank. Any further discussion? Mr. Manning?
Besides raising on a budget thing or.
Well, it already naturally will have an arch in it, but it would raise the cost. I mean, you're talking more material.
Is it gonna be any longer than what we have there now?
Not much, no. A couple feet of what's already there.
Any further questions? Not, let's vote. All those in favor of moving this on to full county board, replacement of the West Bridge at the UW campus facility, signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, nay. All right. Radio tower, number 12, discussion, possible action approval of change order for radio tower project bird study.
So, we found out that we couldn't move forward with a portion of this project until there was a study done about the birds. And I know Barb talked about this before. I don't know what kind of bird it is. But at any rate, there's a bird study that needs to be done. So that is what this change order is for. It is in the amount of $35,000. So, this is the amendment, and then, the original is back in the documents from very, very early on in the approval process. Way back, Clint signed the original document. It's in the original documents folder. So, but, you know, they sent it to me and said, Candace, will you sign this? And I said, no, I won't, because it's a $35,000 change order and I'm not signing it till it gets approved.
Mr. Ray.
Sitting the last 2 years on public safety, we asked that consultant, every meeting we had, are we on budget? Why do we hire a consultant? And then we see something like this.
so if I may, at
Go ahead.
public safety, we discussed this. This came up as they were looking at the site for the tower build, and there was concerns of a nest and a unique species of bird for that territory. And once that happens and it gets flagged, you have to follow through and check. As it turns out, that species is not there, does not exist there, is what we were reported to at the last public safety meeting. So I'm curious as to what, if this bill is for something they've already done. Because public safety said that when I talked to the committee at that point, that it was not okay. It was okay to go ahead.
Supervisor Carroll.
That's the total cost.
Change order one.
Yep, it says it's 35, the additional total fee amount increase being requested under the change order is $35,700 for the total, project total is $339,250.
Well, they
The new total.
labeled their column.
Yeah.
Change order one.
Yeah, it's labeled one.
I would be in favor of, Mr. Frank finding out more or somebody about.
Yeah, I can definitely do that.
Yeah, you don't need to do it because Barb just sent me this and said, will you sign it? And I said, no, and that's like get board approval. And that's on. I don't remember.
Right, if this is just for that study, then yeah, we need to, I'll definitely follow up on that. I know that there was some change orders because of some other things that were still keeping us within budget. Change orders happened when we still.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Elder, comment?
Yeah, so they also had brought up a concern about a VAT study. So I actually reached out to the DNR on this issue. Because there is no state and federal money involved, this is all borrowed by the county. It negates you from doing a lot of these searches to see if there's any endangered species or whatever, because you've signed the lease agreement, you're going basically through private land. It may not need to be done, so I would definitely investigate it to that point if it's necessary or not.
My other question would be, we change a few sites, Bob, right?
Yes.
So that, we may find that out. So I would say we can.
So if I can speak,
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
my study's already done. We had to do a study to build the road at the Westport site. It's already done. The birds don't exist. So I'm assuming this is what that bill is. Now, I wouldn't definitive say that that's what this bill is, but that was my understanding.
I think they'll be fine waiting for another month.
I will get hold of them and find out. and get clarification.
I would say we count this as no action and further information. Get a hold of them, guys. All right, moving on to 13, discussion and possible action, provision of corporation council services through contracted staff or county employee. 13.
Okay, so last month, we had a discussion on whether or not this committee would be interested in entertaining the idea of having corporation counsel as a county employee or not, and what would that look like? What could that look? So after that, I met with Amy Forehand, Attorney Wendell, Larry, and DA Harper, just to kind of talk about where we're at. I'd already met with Trish. I know what their level of need is over at Human Services, and I know they feel like they could definitely utilize more support there. Amy struggles to keep up with the volume of work that they have now, and that's with Attorney Wendell assisting at times. And so, and looking at the costs, so thus far this year, Attorney Wendell has worked 293.57 hours. And, had he been working for us as a county, billing at $125 an hour, had he been a salaried employee, that would have been, at $52 an hour, which is what we are paying roughly for Attorney Forehand, he would have been on the job for 705 hours. So it's a pretty significant difference. Now, again, if we chose to have corporation counsel in-house, I want to be very clear, this would be a job that would be posted. We would interview. This would be a normal hiring process, but he is the person fulfilling the duty now. That is why it was very important to have his opinion on what the duty entails, how often is he working, what type of cases is he working on, because he does spend his time in various ways across the county. So did we think realistically in our conversations that it made sense to have someone that would be a full-time, attorney, and then have, Amy continue on in her capacity so that she's not having to take on and work these extra hours that she is working to try to keep up and not having to struggle to try to maintain everything that she's trying to do as well. And the consensus was it would make sense. the recommendation from everyone at the table was this would make a lot of sense because that extra work over at Human Services could be absorbed then by an in-house corporation counsel. A lot of the child support work could be then absorbed by an in-house corporation counsel. Additional support for Health and Human Services could be absorbed. And then a lot of this hourly work that is being done and additional projects that we really would like to have done, all of the contract review, a lot of the things that were, Mike struggles to get to at times, there would be a person here at all times to be able to get to those projects. So, that's what the conclusion we came to as far as what a wage would actually look like for a contracted corporation counsel. That varies. And so that would be something that we would establish through the wage study, based on the market. Would it be more than what we're paying now? Potentially, but year to date, and we're in July, we've paid $36,695 for Attorney Wendell, and close to $11,341 for Attorney Forehand. So not especially. So there are benefits to both. I think it's really up to you as a committee how you want to continue to do that.
Mr. Carroll.
Does HHS currently get any outside legal counsel?
They do not. Their legal counsel is Mike, and they have funding as well. So realistically, if you were to bring counsel in, they have a lot of offsetting dollars. So this salary piece would be offset then through some of those additional program funding, and that's all broken up depending on how that time would be spent. So, let's say child support, it's 66% reimbursement. So if he's spending time in child support, 66% of that time is reimbursed. I know for adult protection, there's part of that that's reimbursed. Child protection, some of that's reimbursed. So depending on the hours he's spending for each area, then we can estimate X amount of that time can be basically billed back through that, and that salary can be recouped. So we have that opportunity as well.
I guess my question, there is some expanded potential need.
Oh, absolutely. There's definitely an expanded need. Trish could definitely use some more hours of support for some of the units over there and additional training that they just would absolutely love to have. So I definitely we could definitely use that as well.
Yes.
I'm not sure how all the dollars would work out, whether it would turn out to be a savings or not, but it would seem to benefit the county immensely to have the extra legal resources available when we need them to provide better services to our departments and to the county and to the citizens of the county. So even if it did wind up being more expensive, to me, it feels like that might still be money well spent.
Mr. Frank.
So I guess my question is, we don't know what the wage study is. We don't know what wages we're gonna be able to do next year. We don't know what the budget is. I'm concerned that, the current employees, I want to make sure that we're treating them fairly in the upcoming year. I don't know what this is going to cost. I'd like more information to know. I think we can get a better picture. I think we got a good start in the discussion, but what are some closer numbers? What are other counties doing for attorney and wages so we can get a picture on this? I guess I'm not ready to move in this until I've got more information.
Supervisor Cooley. Same thing?
Take the words right out of my mouth.
All right.
We looked into like the insurance part of, do we pay your insurance now? Like,
No, you pay into it. My firm covers me under there.
well, would
We
we,
included in it, right?
Right.
then we would be now responsible for your insurance.
Some percentage of that.
Yeah, so the whole package is wages and benefits and retirement and the other package.
I think he's speaking specifically to malpractice insurance.
but all of that does play in. And I mean, what I'm seeing right now for wages is anywhere, you know, starting can be as low as 45 an hour, but that's pretty low. And up to anywhere between, you know, 55 to 60 an hour, typically in the private, or, you know, in the public sector. You know, and that's usually top of the scale type, you know, in a smaller county. But again, that's where I want Tessa's opinion on that. You know, that's just me doing a little surveying. I want to see the actual market data, and I did email her. She just hasn't gotten back to me yet. But you know, that's ballpark. And as I said, I mean, I know what we're paying Ms. Forehand after quite a bit of time, which is, you know, almost $53 an hour. But
Supervisor Rennie.
Could we, since you brought that up, yeah, and we have records, could we get the total of last year for Corp Council, for Amy, for HHS, the total hours that we had involved in attorneys last year?
well, I all that information. I have it here in one of these pages. I don't know how they started breaking this down. Or when they started breaking it down by department, because I've got some by department costs here. But so in 2021, it was $19,930.90 for Corp Council, and
Do they break it down by hour though?
2021.
yep. That was for Corp Council, and then no, I'm sorry, total cost in 2021 for both Corp Council and attorney forehand was $60,981.76. In 2022, it was $61,731.76. In 2023, it was $73,215.98. Oh, I told you the wrong data for 2022. I'm sorry, $64,495.92. And then year to date, now we have $40,355.75 added together. So
would I be correct in assuming we've had some wage changes in that time period, correct? So that doesn't really answer how many hours that represents.
no, that's just the total dollar amount.
Yeah.
Total dollar amount. I can have them run the reports. Well, it's all by wage, it's not by hours. It's just by wages, but I can pull the invoices and.
Does it separate out between me and Amy, or is it just a total?
And I can, if I may, I can say on my part, you know, I'm contracted for 8 hours. It generally works out more than that. My wage has not changed, I think, for a number of years. So mine hasn't changed.
So Amy, you're contracted 8 hours a week?
Yeah.
But if you put in 10, Amy, Steve Williamson, do you get paid?
So
for that or no?
I get paid for 8 hours a week, no matter if I work 10, 15, whatever I work for the county, I get paid for 8.
And our rates, actually, in our last contract renewal, one of the things that we pointed out was that our rates were going to go up, but we weren't sure when. And so the county actually locked in the 125 that I was first hired under.
So it has not changed then in those last 3 years.
We lock it another 10 years of that?
That's, then you might meet the boss lady for that conversation.
Guessing we would potentially see an increase there, but I can have them.
I can say confidently there would be.
The wages haven't changed, and clearly we're utilizing more hours.
So what I'm hearing, we want a little more information. I agree with
Right.
Mr. Cooey and Mr. Frank.
I agree.
So it's still, okay, so Amy works 8 hours a week, Mike works whatever we need him to work. So if we go to a full-time person, they're gonna work 2,080 hours a year, right?
Correct.
So that's much different than what we're paying for right now.
We're paying 125.
Well, yeah, but we're not very limited hours. You see what I'm getting at? I mean, he's only worked like, how many hours so far this year.
That's why I wanted to have it broken down by hours.
Yeah, we need to see it.
So, right, at $125 an hour, and he's worked 293 hours. If we were to hire him at, let's say, just anyone, I'm sorry, anyone at
$60
$52
an
an
hour.
hour, that would be $109,000 a year.
Yep.
Okay. If it were $41 an hour, it would be less than that. So I mean, again, it would be based on that 2080.
The thing is hours
Yeah, you're gonna get paid more,
available. So if we're only using 600 hours a year,
but we're only using it because.
understood, I get, what I'm saying is to make it a full-time person, now we're gonna gain 400 or 500 hours a year, which most likely, that's where Dave's point is, most likely it'll justify itself.
Absolutely.
Now, I don't know how much HHS or, I mean, that's the one, right? That they get paid, they get reimbursed for everything, pretty much everything they do to some extent.
Yep.
And you have to utilize that to the best of our ability, and if that means, so we need more information, but there's a lot to this.
Yep.
Right?
There
There's
is.
a lot to this, because that 100,000 is that, but then you got another 40,000 benefits. So you're up around 100, and this is just a round number, but I mean, we need to know what Trish can gain.
Yep.
And, I mean, the hours we're gonna get in, I'd get more to this.
Definitely. Yep, so.
Good enough. Enough on that. Any other questions? Information? We are up to committee appointments. Item 14. Southwest Regional Planning Commission, the Board of Adjustments, and Southwest Wisconsin Community Action Program. Those are yours as well?
Yeah, so I do believe we're going to have to convene the committee on the committees. Reason being that we need to appoint Commissioner or Supervisor Carroll to the Southwest Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. We were also going to appoint Jeffrey Even, but he is no longer going to be with the county, so we need to find someone else to appoint from the board. We need to discuss transitioning the Board of Adjustments to Board of Supervisor members, just because there are, the members that we have now are community members. They have been on there for 30 years, which violates all sorts of things. And so we need to get into compliance with that. And it's very hard to find community members that want to volunteer to be on that board, but we cannot have members of the Natural Resources Committee also sit on the Board of Adjustments. So we need to have that discussion. And then we also need to find a replacement for Supervisor Harwick on the Southwest Wisconsin Community Action Program. The commitment for that, the time commitment is just too extensive for her. She can't get away that much. And so I just wanted to have that discussion at this committee level and let you all know that we probably need to convene the committee on committees to have that discussion and make those committee assignments.
Anybody with questions on those? If you're thinking of somebody to put on there with Mr. Carroll.
So the other appointment for that doesn't necessarily have to be a county board member, correct? It was Ray Schmitz formerly.
Correct. It can be a community member. Yep.
All right, if not, I think we're up to 19. Any correspondence? Oh, yeah, 15. We need to fill our county treasurer. Okay, that's you again.
Nope. Mr. Turk.
Mr. Turk. Oh, good.
Yes, so we
Somebody.
received notice from Jeffrey Even that he's resigning as county treasurer. When this happened before, we advertised, solicited letters of interest, and we vetted those candidates and appointed someone as a board. That's what we've done in the past. That's how we got the job. We could do that again if that would be the process you'd like to follow. I'm of the mind that just because we've done it that way before, doesn't always mean that that's necessarily the best way, but it doesn't mean it's a bad idea. So just wanted to have some discussion. What would your preference be for how we approach filling that position?
Is it an elected position?
It is an elected position. It is up for election in November, and Jeff is already on the ballot. And the new person will not be able to be on the ballot. So it's gonna be fun.
Well, what are we,
It's too late to put their name on it.
Ballots are already printed.
I believe they would have to be on the ballot as a registered write-in.
Yeah.
When the
Write-in.
time comes.
so what, there's statutes that tell us what we have to do, right?
There's,
The other one would be the counties association is the next step to tell us what we're able to do within their reasoning, right?
it hasn't been that long ago that we filled that position. We also filled the county clerk position that way because we had a vacancy midterm.
That's why I wouldn't change what we've done, because I think that that's the process.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
township, same thing, because I got the same problem over there, so. There's due diligence you have to follow, you just can't. I mean, if it was, you know, and we couldn't do it anyways, now I don't even know if you can at the county level. But like at township level, you can take it to your annual meeting and then get it, go from elected to appointed, and then you clear that up. Now, that may be something, I don't know if it's capable at county level,
Don't believe so.
But,
because these are constitutional.
you know what I mean? The thing of it is what it does is when people leave, then you have the avenue to replace. Where this, I think you're gonna have to probably follow what we've done.
Is there a deputy that covers this at this point?
There is a deputy in place.
So, you know, if Jeff were hit by a bus tomorrow, and I'm not wishing that on him, but the deputy would assume the roles of the clerk, or treasurer, so.
Which then if he goes to another position, they would assume to leave the same.
Oh, yeah.
well, I think if we got a process supporting like,
But the other thing is if the deputy's there, we don't have to really, I mean, we need to fill a position, I get that, but.
Or we can wait until November. If it's close enough, we have that choice to go, hey.
But the problem, the thing
I
is,
think our preference would be to fill the position.
I agree. I'm just saying.
the problem is all this new stuff's going through right now that Jeffrey's trying to teach the town treasurer. So there's a big,
To Jeff's credit, he has
It's the
said
worst.
he'd be willing to help us in the transition to the new person, so we credit him for that.
we definitely need to fill it.
Yeah.
Sooner than later, but it may change in November.
Well, I think we advertise it,
I agree.
I agree.
and the deputy can apply, correct?
Absolutely. Good. Recommend to need a motion on that, or you just want?
I just wanted to have discussion about it rather than just assume what we should do, so.
I would agree.
How long do we want it advertised? So I can, Justin is online, but so that we know.
It's a couple of weeks.
2
probably.
weeks?
What's standard? I mean, I'm trying to think you may want to get it up more than that.
We usually do 2 weeks for most positions.
And you can always re-kick it in.
We've had very good luck recruiting.
All right.
So,
2 weeks it is.
okay.
Supervisor Gill, you have a question?
Yeah, my question was, did you have an alternate process in mind when you brought this up?
Not necessarily, I just wanted to bring it out to say, again, feeling that just because we've always done something a certain way doesn't necessarily mean that that's the way we should keep doing it, but glad we had a chance to discuss it, so.
In the process. Any further questions on that? Okay, now correspondence. Nothing. Future agenda item.
Chair.
Yes.
Again, raising the issue of by resolution declaring this body the ethics board.
Should probably bring that next month and.
Yeah, I have a draft resolution
Okay.
prepared.
Okay. It'll be anybody else, future agenda item, something we need to cover? You want to become our unpaid engineer consultant?
Well, and I think we'll put the corporation council discussion back on. Hopefully I can have some of the market data and also have some bullet points from Trish for you. I know she can use the help, so I'll get some more data on that.
That'd be helpful. Think you're gonna be ready for next time?
Good question. I'll talk to Larry. I know the fee schedule is like this close, so.
And what is it? What do we have to, August, we'll have some more information on the campus, right there.
Future agenda items?
Yeah.
Future agenda, Rob.
What?
For emergency management EMS, from what happened today, we talked about earlier.
What, the vehicle?
Correct.
Okay.
We
Emergency management.
just set it on there, so it's there.
Okay.
Not my mistake. Thank you.
Do we meet the second Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay,
What is that date?
the 13th.
13. If not, Mr. Manning has a job to do. Motion to adjourn until the next meeting, which is August 13th, second by Mr. Chair, or Mr. Gill. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. 2 hours and 1 minute.